Welcome everyone, I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and now that all of the film has been watched and all of the grades are in, it's time for the Football Game Plan Scouting 2018 NFL Draft Prospect Preview. Before we get started with our prospect rankings, here's how we gather our grades and what they actually mean. First, we watch a minimum of 3 full games on a player, a prospect's best game, his worst game, and the best or intriguing matchup. And second, we grade on 15 key points specific to the position to equal 100 points in total. Now, here's what the grades that you'll see by a prospect's name will actually mean. Prospects that earn grades in the 90s graded out as future NFL All-Pros. Prospects in the 80s are considered future Pro Bowl players. Grades in the 70s represent solid NFL starters, and grades in the 60s are players that we believe are spot starters in the NFL. And if you notice, we don't use the word reserve or backups because we personally feel as though that there are no such thing as backups in the NFL, only starters in waiting. So without further ado, let's kick off our prospect rankings by taking a look at our top 10.
Dallas Goedert of South Dakota State checks in at number 1 on our Inline prospect rankings list. His most impressive trait is his catching ability. We like to use the term slow the ball down with your eyes, and Goedert is definitely able to do that with ease. That also makes his catch radius pretty big for a quarterback. You routinely see one-hand catches and other difficult catches, which speaks to his excellent athleticism. I think he's a capable blocker. He gives great effort there, and that's all you can really ask for from a tight end this day and age. He's a much better inline player, I think, than given credit for, as a lot of people will focus on his athleticism and his receiving skills. But make no mistakes about it, the latter two will get him drafted pretty high, in my opinion. Looking at the rest of our top 10, Mark Andrews of Oklahoma is equally as impressive a prospect as Goedert. He's a good cross between a throwback tight end and a new age tight end. He has solid fluidity for a guy that's 250 pounds, and his game reminds me a lot of Jason Witten when he came out of Tennessee. Both Andrew Vollard of Weber State and Dalton Schultz of Stanford are very underrated prospects on the national scale. Vollard was the FCS version of Wisconsin's Troy Fumagalli, who's also an excellent and consistent receiver. The 6'6", 240-pound Weber State tight end was strong all week long at the East-West Shrine game and got better as a blocker as the week progressed. Blocking is a lot of what Schultz did at Stanford, so much so that I think his receiving skills are vastly underrated. When you add that to the fact that he's an excellent blocker, you can see why he graded out pretty well for us. Ross Dwelley of San Diego is a versatile threat at the position. He can play inline. He can also be a great flex option as well. He was the #1 option in Torero's passing attack and proved to be a nightmare matchup for most opponents. He's an elusive tight end that consistently works himself open and doesn't mind sacrificing himself for the reception. He also grew into his blocking role at San Diego as he filled out his frame as the years went on, and that made him a lot more physical at the point of attack this season for San Diego. Dwelley, to me, has tremendous upside. Prospects 11 through 13 are guys that do a solid job in the run game. Both Alec Bloom out of UConn and Marcus Ball out of Ohio State are terrific blockers. And when you look at Pharaoh McKeever out of Florida International, he got better each practice at the Tropical Bowl and also had a solid game and has some upside as a threat in the passing game moving forward.
So that's a wrap for our 2018 FBGP Scouting Draft Prospect Preview. To see more of our individual scouting reports, follow us on Twitter at FBGP Scouting and bookmark the page footballgameplan.com/FBGP Scouting. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan, where you can get all of our scouting videos, mock drafts, and NFL draft prospect videos. And one more thing, subscribe to us on iTunes under Football Game Plan Podcast, where you can find the Scout Team Podcast, where we interview multiple NFL draft prospects.